And although Evangelion will be on the top of our list to tackle this month, the final week we have reserved for a separate show directed by Hideaki Anno before Neon Genesis Evangelion. Ain't that fun? So happy Anno month, you kids. Enjoy the show, or whatever it is, the audio presentation, something like that. What is on Shinji's hand? Just start saying balls, and we'll start saying balls really softly until we get eventually very loud together.
That is my favorite idea.
Okay, great. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Balls, 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 Mahoney. Balls Mahoney.
Yeah.
It's bad. Anime.
Hey everybody, I'm John.
And I am Rob.
And this is Bad Anime, the podcast where we decide,
Is this anime bad?
And today, Rob, what anime are we talking about?
Well, today we're talking about something that I recommended based entirely upon the director. This is actually
Who could that be?
It's actually the directorial debut of one Hideaki Anno.
It's his debut?
Yeah, it's the first thing he ever directed.
I did not know that at all.
I forgot that. I read it and thought, oh yeah, that's the thing I knew. And then it's one of the things you just kind of forget over time. But no, this was the directorial debut of Hideaki Anno, and he made something that I really liked, and something that you enjoyed as well.
Okay, first of all, I would like to get into... have you seen this before? You watched it? Because we both watched it like a few days ago.
You watched it a few days ago. I watched it yesterday.
Is that the first time you watched it?
Yes, first time I watched it.
See, that surprised me.
Yeah.
I was like...
Honestly, based on the content here, I can completely understand why.
Like, I was working through it, and I was like, we just did Eva, and I was like, all right... I was like, I feel like Rob, like, he knows Cutie Honey, right? Wait,
Yes.
no, Cutie Honey's... Oh, that's the guy.
Well, no,
I
okay,
mixed them up.
no. But here's why this gets confusing because
give it to
Cutie Honey is a Go Nagai work. Yes, it's a manga
Mm-hmm.
which got animated. Hideaki Anno directed the Cutie Honey live action film because Anno actually started doing live action stuff around. I think Cutie Honey was his first, but then he's done Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Kamen Rider, which is about to come out very soon.
Oh,
and yeah, the panties are wet for that one. Boy.
damn.
Yeah.
Wait, what does Shin mean?
New.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was like a Shinji thing.
Yeah.
Shinji Godzilla.
Shinji Godzilla.
Don't put me in that dinosaur.
Don't put me in the dinosaur. Ayanami!
Why is my cum green? Sorry, that was too far. I apologize.
No, it wasn't. I honestly would have been funnier if it was like the fire breath with like the blazing blue Godzilla come. Come hand Shinji.
Come hand Shinji.
I love how the shadow of
the Pride of the West.
I love how the shadow of Shinji Ikari hangs over anything Anno directs.
Literally everything.
But anyway, this is his debut. It was originally created by a guy named Toshio Okada.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Rainmaker! Rainmaker! No relation from what I can tell. Let me double check. Yeah, no relation from what I can tell. But anyway, so this was originally a 6-episode OVA that started release in 1988. A good 7 years before Eva.
Yeah.
But we didn't watch the 6-episode OVA. We watched an hour-and-a-half movie that was a compilation of those 6 episodes, and it is now available for viewing on High Dive.
Yeah.
Which became way more relevant since the Crunchyroll Funimation merger.
Yes, because now like that's on High Dive and not on Crunchyroll nor Funimation.
Yep.
So it's like the things on High Dive, I'm so confused about what High Dive is because I see like things on High Dive and I get ads for things on High Dive.
Yes.
And I'm like, I've never heard of these or seen these anywhere else.
Oh, basically, the joke I always make, High Dive is for, I think I've actually made it on the podcast before, where it's for complete anime retro heads or the current pervs, because all the seasonal stuff, like for example, Mother of the Goddess Dormitory was High Dive,
right?
So it's where you go for all the recent pervy shit. But if you also want to watch, I think I joked a lot about Blue Gales and Bungles on there. Legends of the Galactic Heroes is the most famous title on there. That's a legendary sci-fi space opera OVA series that's on there. There's a lot of retro stuff on there.
Yeah.
So if you
makes
want
sense.
if you want good retro stuff, I legitimately recommend High Dive. But if you want to watch, I don't know, redo of The Healer, you can also go to High Dive. So
God.
those are the two niches that High Dive fulfills, and obviously this is in the retro bunch.
Right.
So when I saw Gunbuster on there, I wasn't surprised at all, and I'm like, you know what? I need to experience Anno outside of his most famous work.
And I'm surprised that you've never watched it before, because I feel like, as somebody like yourself that loves Eva so much,
Yeah.
and loves also like other Anno works, I was like, it's interesting that you haven't watched it before this, which is very nice for me, because this means that you and I are both approaching this
From the same exact playing field.
At the same exact time. I'm sure we have some varying opinions on like this whole movie.
Let's get this now film.
Yes, it's a film, right? And like when I was watching it, just to speak to the structure of it a little bit, you said that it was originally 6 OVAs.
Yes.
And on High Dive, it's a film. And I felt like 6 OVAs, I guess I could see now that you said it was a thing, but I originally pictured it as, okay, it seems like 3 OVAs mashed together, because it has 3 completely separate storylines or plots.
Yeah, it's basically, I wouldn't say completely different. They're progressions of each other and of the same story, but it's very episodic.
Yes,
which is weird.
right.
Like the first 40 minutes is its own story, and then I believe the next
It's like half an hour, maybe
20 minutes to a half hour,
Yeah.
and then the next 20 minutes to a half hour. It's 3 different parts of a story.
Yeah, and it's the same story, but it's like it does big time skips, because there's a lot of space time.
Yes, and then we get the whole thing about space time in this universe.
Which is something we will cover.
Yes.
But shall we just kick it off?
Yes, let's kick it off. And what did you think at the beginning when, without much explanation, you just see a bunch of robots doing high school athletics, running around the track, skipping jump ropes? I'm like, what are these robots doing?
That was the first thing I was gonna mention, because my first note in my entire notes of this movie was, "LOL, why are robots doing fitness?"
Yeah, exactly. I was legitimately confused. I'm like, dude, the robots need to lose weight. They're robots. That was a little bizarre, but not in a bad way. I'm like, okay, this is the tone. Then I realized, with all the screeching going on, they were at an all-girls academy.
Yeah, so it's an all-girls academy. That's where we're set up in this world. It's in Okinawa.
Yes.
Is where it's based, and it's like a young military academy for girls, where they can learn to pilot these giant robots and use them to fight this enemy thing that we don't exactly know what it is, and it's never explained.
I was about to say, dude, I was about to ask, did they ever explain it? Because I don't remember that being explained.
Definitely not. I'm the guy to go to for that, and I can tell you they did not explain it at all. But yeah, the show opens, the film opens with them doing like phys ed for robots. Which like you later learn, like it makes sense later, because it's like, oh, you know, like they're girls like training how to like use these robots and like have a range of motion. And stuff
they're
like
actually
that.
getting used to like how the robots function.
Exactly.
So they're performing kind of more, I guess you could say, routine physical activities in order to get used to how the robot's sensitivity works. So it makes sense in context. It was just a very bold choice to start on that front.
Right. And it actually, even before then, it started with like a little bit of story that we got, because the main character is Noriko Takaya.
Yep.
And Noriko Takaya is the daughter of an admiral.
Right, Admiral Takaya.
Admiral Takaya.
Yeah, because I forgot that was pretty much the first thing that happened. He was on a giant spaceship. It's going down, and he has like this video postcard from his daughter saying, "Come back for my 8th birthday," and he's like, "Well, I'm dead."
Yeah, like, "I'm sorry, little one."
Yeah, I am just totes dead right now.
And he died so hard.
He died pretty hard in the beginning, and then we cut to Noriko at this academy, and a bunch of people are training, and now I guess competing to they're competing to be basically mech pilots,
right,
and fight this enemy,
right.
And I forgot what the mechs were called, not the main one, but all like the little mechs, because they.
Yes, I don't think the regular mech's name kind of escapes me. I don't remember. It was a very simple term.
It was a very simple term.
It was like a robot or a mech or something like that.
It was like I forgot what it was, but it was
like a fighter. Jet fighter pilot.
It's like the same kind of ideology behind Gundam, to give it a very basic military term.
Yes.
To make it not very exciting or superhero-esque. So
right.
They had all these basic ones, and from what I remember, Noriko is training, but she's not very good in terms of piloting these mechs. However, she's chosen to be one of the 2 representatives from this school.
Which is pretty interesting because the guy that chooses her is Coach.
Yeah.
He's referred to as, and his name is it's actually funny because his name is pretty close to Coach.
Yeah.
It's Koichiro Oda.
Yeah.
And he selects Noriko because he worked with the Admiral,
Right.
Admiral Takuya, and Admiral Takuya saved his life in the first scene of the movie. So he's like this older guy now,
Yeah.
and he's got a big scar on his face. He's got
Right.
some nuclear poisoning shit. He's puking blood all the time.
Yeah.
He's not doing great.
No.
And
But he's helping these girls fight the enemy.
yes, the enemy who is unnamed. So as of now, I feel like, we can call them Verm. We'll call them Verm.
Verm.
So he's fighting Verm.
The end of this, actually, there's a lot of Darling in the Franxx parallels here, especially the ending, which we'll get to.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And so he selects 2 pilots to pilot Gunbuster.
Yeah.
And Gunbuster is
our
this
main mech.
big fucking robot.
It's a combination of a few different robots. It's funny because the color pattern vaguely, I can see the jump from that to Eva Unit 1 and some of the purple aesthetic choices there, but it really looked like a combination of the Zaku's from Gundam, Mazinger Z, and there's a couple other random influences there. But I'm just looking at that, I'm like, oh, Okada or Anno, whoever designed this thing, you sons of bitches. I see exactly what you did. I see exactly the inspiration, especially at 88. I'm like, I know where you're pulling from.
Like,
guys.
I get this.
I get it.
I know this.
The Gunbuster was a cool looking robot. I'll say that.
It was cool.
The mech design of this show was at the risk of sounding dismissive, I'm going to say it was safe.
Yes.
All the robots designs made sense. They clearly wanted to have like a kind of a basic design for like the smaller mechs and one big cool one.
See,
But-
it was easy to pick out which robot is important.
Exactly.
Which is fine.
Which you're supposed to do. And nothing looked overtly silly because this was 88, back before there was a lot of competition. Because, a lot of later mechs, I mean, Gurren Lagann and Darling and Franxx had the example of a lot of the robots looking so fucking stupid because
With facial expressions.
yes, with facial expressions. And the thing is, by the time both those shows came out, everything had been done in mech.
Yes.
This is 88, so it was it was nice to see something of that time frame,
Right.
where things weren't. They were pushing the boundaries, but the boundaries weren't pushed very far yet.
Yes.
So it wasn't very extreme. And I like the look of the mechs a lot of the show. I really did.
Yeah, the mechs are really cool. And I think like the way they pilot the mechs is also very interesting. And it's kind of like it's less like Eva, and I don't know, they're just like standing,
Yeah.
and they're like their movements are the robots' movements.
Yes, that would get reused in a lot of later mechs. The most famous example I can think of that does that probably G Gundam.
G Gundam. Okay,
Yeah, well,
yes.
they that's how they control them in that particular Gundam series.
Yeah, like through like a bunch of things attached to their like head and like arms and like stuff.
Oh,
it,
and G
like,
Gundam
tracks their
is
movements.
G Gundam is not even that. G Gundam, you're just standing in a big fucking dome, and like you're like inside the robot, and like you have like these like wireless wristbands. I kind of like the attention to detail here where they actually had the wires.
Yeah.
because it's actually reminiscent right now, very current VR technology.
Yeah, you're right. When you're kind of like strapped in.
Yeah.
And you're like there and you can't really go anywhere.
And you're just like flailing like a madman the entire
Right?
time.
While
It's-
watching VR porn.
Yeah, well, usually while watching VR porn.
Yeah, probably.
You want to get involved in the action.
Yes, you want to get in there, right? You can't just sit idly by.
But then you look down, it's like, this isn't my body. I'm wildly confused about this now.
Hey, look, that's a penis.
Gunbuster!
Wrong website. That's my Gunbuster.
That's my Gunbuster! Oh my god.
Oh man.
Where were we in the story?
So, right, the story. Well, I want to point out something very special as well. Special is a weird word, but
Interesting choice.
So, Noriko,
Yes.
the main character, who's the daughter of the admiral,
Yeah.
right? The admiral's message from her. That he receives, she's like, "Come home for my birthday." She said, he like says something like, "She's gonna be 8 years old."
Yeah.
And then we get a time skip, right?
Yes.
So it really starts where the robots are doing the fitness, right?
Yeah.
And that's a time skip 6 years after the admiral died,
Right.
Which means that Noriko in Math World is 14.
Sounds about right.
So
For Japan?
she's 14. Yeah,
Yep.
very, very, very in line with what I would expect.
Yeah, it is. But then it gets a little confusing because then the whole prospect of space time comes in.
Yeah.
Because when you go into space, you don't really age like you do on Earth because
Right.
you experience time differently.
Right.
And when you come back to Earth, you're basically the age you left at.
What
which gets really confusing because
Yes.
at points she has like the body. she's not 14 years old, but she has the body of a 14-year-old. And then when you see her
Yeah.
tits a few times, that makes things very confusing.
It does make things very confusing.
But then again, this is Anno, so I mean,
yeah.
I'm just gonna go back to Eva again.
The
look how much,
calculation that kept coming back to me was, and the last part, which we will get to.
Yeah.
The final part, they gave me an exact correlation. They were like, oh, it's been 15 years on Earth, but it's only been 6 months for you.
Yeah.
So it's a very dramatic time difference.
Right. Yeah.
Very dramatic. Like 1 month is a lot of fucking time.
It's a lot of time. That's
it's
years.
a lot of time to be up in space.
Right.
While everybody down on Earth getting old.
Just get old. Oh, Darling in the Franks. I remember.
Darling in the Franks. But anyway, so she is selected, as we were saying.
Yeah.
Noriko.
Yes.
For some fucking reason. She's really bad at her job.
Well, no, I got to give the show credit. They did explain why.
They did?
Yes, because
it
it was Coach's explanation. Because she was having a breakdown. It's like, I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. Why the hell are you picking me? I don't deserve this. Is it because of nepotism? Is it because of who my father is? And then the coach said something like, yes, you're not the best now, but you have the most potential. And he went on this rant about how a lot of people, like a lot of her cohorts or contemporaries in that class had reached their maximum, and that's all they're going to be. They were never going to get any stronger.
I see.
So he was basically saying you're an investment now because you will get stronger. You will be better than them. You just need to be pushed.
God, he's so dreamy.
Yeah. Honestly, the whole thing, it's, again, this is such a New Japan-esque storyline. It's like, you need someone to push you. And then you get kicked by Katsuyori Shibata.
Yeah. And then you're concussed.
So I do have to give the show credit for giving us a good reason why she was the one picked.
That's good.
It wasn't purely based on.
I must have missed that, but I'm glad that they gave that reason. That's a good one. Because
yeah, I was shoveling pretzel rounds in my mouth while watching this, so I was a little distracted.
That's also fine.
Yeah.
So the coach picks 2 candidates to pilot Gunbuster.
Yeah, and the other one,
her name is Kazumi Amano.
Amano, yeah.
But they call her Onesama.
Yeah, all the girls in the school call her Onesama, while Amano's her real names, and all the other higher ups actually refer to her as her name.
Right.
I feel like one person called her Kasumi and I'm like, who the fuck is that? I'm like,
Who's
okay,
that? Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, that's
Everybody calls her something different. And I'm like,
that's the one character that was annoying because I never
Yeah.
knew who they were talking about.
Can we just have a blanket term for all? That'd be so nice. And
term.
so let's talk about the parts of this, right?
Yeah,
so
there was 3 distinct parts.
Right. So the first part, they're selected.
Yeah.
And then they pilot Gunbuster, I believe, in
They
the first
piloted
part.
Gunbuster and they destroyed an alien of some description.
Yeah, they destroyed. There was an alien fleet. I feel like it was very similar to an Eva in like a Monster of the Week sort of thing.
In that first part, yeah, where
Yeah.
it was like the first kind of angel they did,
Right, exactly. It was like that's
angel.
what I thought
Yeah, it's an
exactly
angel.
of because I'm like
Yeah.
it's an unnamed thing from an unnamed place. You don't know what it's doing. You don't know what its motive is. So then they go out and then they destroy all these aliens. And of course, there's like drama in that first part of like, oh, like is Noriko ready to pilot Gunbuster? Is she gonna mess this up?
Yeah.
Like she just sucks at a lot of things.
Is she going to cost us all our lives here?
Right. And she powers through and she's like, she was supposed to partner with a guy named Smith.
Yeah.
Because Onesama was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with her because she's not very good at piloting at all.
Yeah, and they're all having
yeah.
these arguments while they're wearing the ninja masks
Yep.
inside the robots. I'm like, okay, why are you you're wearing a ninja mask and no pants? It was a very bold choice.
Very weird outfit choices for inside the robot.
Yeah. Well, all the dudes got to wear pants.
Yeah, and like tracksuits.
Yeah.
It was cool for them.
They were a little cooler for them, but no,
I guess. And what the deal was is that what the turning point was in the first part is that Smith dies.
Yes.
And he was like gracious enough. And he was gracious enough to pilot with Noriko.
Yep.
And the only person that shows her any kind of kindness dies.
Yeah.
And at that point she's like, I could like cry and like be sad and stuff. Or I can just like fix this shit myself.
And see, this is one of the moments where I felt kind of bad. I would love to have seen the full version of this because I felt like that whole first part got a little rushed where Noriko was like, well, fuck, he's dead. I'm a boss bitch now. I'm like, nah, this isn't very Anno here.
Yeah, she didn't even do like
where's my 15 minutes of existential dread?
Right. She didn't even do like the Simone depression where you're depressed for 3 episodes and then you're like, nah, I'm good, bro.
At least that's something.
Common is cool.
Yeah,
I'm good.
To give credit to Gurren Lagann, at least they gave Simone a little depression
They
arc.
dragged it out a little bit. But I can understand with like the timing and like the OVA structure. Like, okay, sure, you may need to expedite,
especially this compilation film structure.
Yes.
So I would love to have seen a little more. God, am I just a miserable person where I'm like, where's the challenge? Where's the adversity?
It was fine. Not enough depression, though.
Not enough depression.
depression. Not nearly enough.
Isn't that every criticism I have of Gurren Lagann?
I think it actually is. Not enough depression, and that was your criticism at the end of Armitage as well. This is a pattern.
This is okay. This says a lot about my mental health. Anyway, so I guess we can move on to part 2.
2, yeah. 2 is, it's not all that much later from part 1.
No, it's only a couple years in a time skip.
Maybe a couple years, maybe not even a couple years. What part 2 starts at is Noriko and Onesima, right? They effectively piloted Gunbuster.
Yes.
And beat the thing. They beat the aliens, and now they're graduating.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting fast-tracked to graduate from this Okinawa school.
Right.
Because they will be needed to pilot Gunbuster again
in the future
to fight more alien threats.
And was it at this point where I think we learned something, or was that part 2 or part 3 when we kind of get some more insight? It's like, oh my god, you're only 17, but you're really 27. And that's for Noriko.
Oh, yes. Yes, for Noriko and Onesima, right, they come back from that first space battle.
Yeah.
And all of their friends from the academy
10
have
years.
already graduated.
And at first, like when they said everyone's gone, I'm like, did they all die?
Yeah.
And then because it left a little vague, but then you saw one of them with her child,
Right.
Who was Noriko's best friend, and you just learned, okay, no, everyone's just got aged up because time works differently.
Yeah.
In space versus on Earth.
It was 10 years, meaning that like 6 months is 15 years, so maybe it was like 4.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. It was a bit of time. So they come back and everybody's 10 years older, including Coach.
Coach. And Coach is not doing too hot.
No, he ain't doing great. Coach ain't doing great. He was, like what I was saying before, he got like nuclear, space sickness.
Yeah, some type of radiation.
Radiation sickness. That's
yeah,
what
one
they
of
said.
the. It's like it was nuclear or radiation or space something.
Something like
they use
that.
this. They use the same 3 words in different orders a lot in this
They
show.
do. They do. And they came back to him like he's like really sick.
Yeah.
And he's like we see him like in a scene with Onesama.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of like, I don't know, it looks like they're like they're like not making out, but they're like, there's something going on.
There's some intimacy there.
Yeah.
She clearly wants to be closer to him, and then he just fucking slaps her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this escalated very quickly.
Dang. And then Noriko comes in, and then Coach starts like puking blood, and he's like, oh, and she's like, I gotta call the police or the ambulance, and then he's like, no, don't do that shit. I'm a man.
His honestly, if he was just went, I'm a man, that'd be one thing. But his rationale was actually a little dumber, where it was, no, Amino will get upset and then won't fight very well. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Do you mean?
You're just dying. I think she's still gonna be able to. And of course, because they reveal like that Amino is completely aware of what's happening.
Yes.
She's like, yeah, I know. It sucks. And then I'm like, well, then what's the point of him being Irma Mern about this?
Yeah, there was no point. And like Onesima, and so then of course like before long, after they graduate, once again like the world is in crisis.
Yeah.
We get like all those scenes of like world leaders gathered around like a big like war room table, and they're like, what do we do?
Oh, that is Hideaki Anno's wet dream, because
It is
he
so
does that
funny.
in everything he's ever directed.
Oh my
There's
God.
going to be a war room
It's
scene.
exactly like Sele.
It
was literally Sele.
It was Sele, or all the scenes from Shin Godzilla where it's everyone going, what the fuck are we going to do about this giant fucking dinosaur?
Yeah, it was literally that the entire time. And then one of them just goes like, I know, let's get 2 14-year-old girls to save the day. And everyone's like, that may just be the best option.
The Anno special.
The Anno special. Always got to be a 14-year-old girl.
Oh,
She could wear an eye patch. She doesn't have to wear an eye patch. It's just going to be her regardless, And then they're like, all right, we got to get Gunbuster back.
Yeah.
And Noriko and Onesima are like about to, they board Gunbuster.
Yeah.
And Coach is staying behind.
Yeah.
And the entire time, Noriko is like, hey, Onesima, like, I saw you kind of like cuddling up to Coach. I think you guys would be great married. And I'm like, she is 14, sir. Yeah. What are you trying to say?
Exactly.
You're also 14.
Yeah. But even though you're technically 30 because space time, I don't know.
Right, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah.
And then they're leaving Coach behind.
Mm.
And they're like, and Onesima's like, I don't know if Coach is going to be alive when we get back, because it's going to be at least 10 years when we're gone. He might be dead from radiation, sickening, poisoning space.
Yes.
So we don't know.
And then Onesama Amino just starts bawling. He's like, he's definitely gonna be dead. What am I fighting for? I never got to tell him that I love him. And she goes on like a pretty decent fit about it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, there's my depression I needed. Okay, the quote has been met, and the misery is there. I am now invested.
Now something can get me to the third act.
Exactly. And speaking of the third act, did you appreciate the fact that the third act was in black and white?
Just for no reason. It was all in black and white. I kind of liked it, actually.
I loved it.
I liked it, and I think it was just because I think, like, at least my interpretation of the third act being completely black and white was to kind of show that, like, time had passed and, like, the Earth had experienced some, like, radiation or problems from the second alien battle.
Yes.
Because they said at that second alien battle, when they formed Gunbuster and when they finally, you know, like, they got past, like, Onesima and, like, Coach's thing, they finally got together and they finally destroyed, like, the alien threat, which is, like, just a billion alien ships.
Yeah, just a ton of ships.
With just Gunbuster.
Yeah.
So they did all that. And then somebody said something about, like, oh, you know, this will affect, like, the Earth's environment because it's, like, happening so close.
That was a throwaway line,
And I was like, interesting. And then you go to Act 3 and everything's in black and white, and that just leads me to believe, like, the Earth is, like, facing some, like, environmental problems.
Crisis,
and there's, like, some crises happening. But, you know, they're still able to live.
Right.
But at the same time, there's just, like,
But how well is the question?
Right.
So even at the end, it's ambiguous as to what the hell is going on, and I kind of loved it. But the final act was interesting to me, where it was just the black and white definitely matched the tone, because it was weird, because the whole thing was bleak in a way.
Yeah, it was a little bleak.
The whole, like, because the whole question of the third act was essentially, can we do this? Can we win? Or are we all just toying with ourselves? Are we all about to die? Right. So it was a great because even if everything happening on screen wasn't always oblique and kind of negative, it just, the black and white really brought out those undercurrents, that uncertainty.
Yeah.
Because Anno does this to me, where he makes me I have to watch it and say, what does it mean?
But then, like fast backward to the end of Act 2, where they form Gunbuster and they beat the last alien with something called Super Lightning Kick.
They did do that,
and I was like, you know, this Anno guy, he just does a little bit of everything.
That's he is a multi-layered and fascinating individual. I believe the term is my spirit animal. I've heard that word.
Yes, your spirit animal.
I've heard that getting thrown around a lot.
Yeah,
nowadays.
it's a thing. People use that.
Am I hip? Gunbuster!
So, right. The third act is 15 years.
Yes, after
the second act. And this part is interesting in a few ways.
Because Noriko stayed in space the entire time,
yes, she's
but
in space.
Amino goes back to Earth at one point.
Yes.
And she gets with, kind of glossed over this, but she actually gets back and Coach is still alive.
Yes.
And they have a few years together. They get married.
Yep.
And then we know this because now she becomes Coach.
Yeah.
It starts out, she's visiting Coach's grave, dropping off flowers, and all the girls and the new girls in the academy go, Coachy! Yeah. And then we see her answer yes, like,
yep.
She's Coach. She's the coach after all. And it's a cool moment. She's like now in, even though her and Noriko technically the same age,
right.
And now she actually looks 30 and change.
Yeah, right.
She sees Noriko and it is a big
she's
reunion.
Like, she at that point she's like in her 30s or something like that, because it's been 15 years.
So that it's kind of cool because now this is hitting me in waves, because I watched it at night and the lights were off, so I was a little hazy during Act 3. I'm gonna come back to it. And I'm just like, come on, I got this. I got to power through. Got to power through. But it was kind of cool because even with, like, there was some optimism in there with Noriko and Amino reuniting. But the thing is, the third act, black and white, the entire time I'm just dreading it. I'm like, oh, everyone's about to die.
It's pretty interesting because I noticed something about, like, when they met up for the first time. And okay, obviously, like, Anako and Esama goes back into space.
Yeah.
Because they got another big alien attack.
And we need Gunbuster.
There's 80 billion aliens coming to destroy us all, and we need Gunbuster. They also made another thing called Gunbuster 3, which is a giant black hole bomb.
Yeah.
So when you detonate it, it turns everything around it into a giant black hole. And they're aiming to detonate this black hole to suck all these aliens dry. And they want to use Gunbuster
to do it.
To like activate it and shit like that. So Onesima goes back into space. She's like, all right, it's going to be another operation. I'm going to team with Noriko again to form Gunbuster.
Yeah.
And the thing was, she gets to space.
Yeah.
And she's like coming out and she's like new coach and stuff. And Noriko's there. And she runs up to Noriko and she's like, Noriko, oh my God, it's so great to see you. And Noriko's like, yeah, hey.
Right.
She literally did not. She never was like, I'm so happy to see you. Like, it's great. I'm like, it's like, because it's been 6 months for her and it's been 15 years for Onesima.
Right.
So it's just weird because
That's a cool dynamic when you think about it, though. That's a great point. So the entire time, wow, I see. I never really thought about it from that perspective. Because I completely, now I'm thinking about it, she almost had no reaction.
Yeah. It was like nothing. And then they started like talking again and whatnot. And they were like, oh, we got to do this mission for everybody back on Earth. Like your best friend Noriko is like 58 and she has a daughter and you got to protect her daughter.
Yeah.
And it's all like cute and stuff. And another thing about the black hole bomb, which I found very funny, is I wrote in my notes, okay, so they start the battle. And this black hole bomb comes out and Gunbuster's out and all of their like allies are out like, fighting the aliens.
Right.
And the aliens start going to attack the black hole bomb. And somebody on Earth is like seeing this, like Admiral something or whatever, and he's like, so they've noticed the black hole bomb. And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's the size of 6 fucking Jupiters. Of course they saw the black hole bomb.
I think we know what this is.
It's fucking huge. It's massive. Like, obviously. And then
They did talk about that.
I wrote in my notes, yeah, dude, it's the size of 6 Jupiters, only to find out that they literally put Jupiter inside the bomb.
black hole bomb.
I was like,
I remember that.
What did they do?
It's like, is that Jupiter? I'm like, what the fuck are they trying to do?
What are they doing with
There's
this
no
bomb?
blow up most of space.
Oh, God. And so then, Gunbuster gets together and just, like, wipes the floor with everybody. The final battle's all in comic strips, which is very Anno.
Oh, I loved that. I loved how, for a second, the animation just broke down. Because before that, we got kind of I guess you could say a hint or a prelude or some foreshadowing, where a couple times where Noriko would have an intense moment, like intense emotional reaction or something, and her face would go, like, completely white, and it would basically turn into a manga panel.
Exactly.
And so a lot of the final battle takes place in manga panels, which... It's funny because you could say it was done for artistic license and liberty, but I think it was Anno saying, we need to save some money.
Yeah. And, like, that's the same. It brought me back to Eva, too.
Oh, yeah, the same thing as the end of
Because I
Eva.
was like, is it budget cuts or is it artistic? And I just
we never
don't
know.
You just can't tell.
With Evangelion, we were lucky enough to have the documents and employees talking about it. It's like, yeah, we ran out of money, so we threw some weird artsy shit at the wall, hoping we get away with 2 episodes of this.
And it somehow worked.
And it was 2 of my favorite episodes of anything I've ever seen in my life. Again, what does that say about me?
So dumb.
Ah,
It was so funny.
It was great. But no, for Gunbuster, it was kind of cool,
Yeah.
So they got a little imaginative with the final
They
battle,
did.
and then at the end, it was Noriko's and Gunbuster. No, sorry, both of them were, but Noriko was the one really literally tearing herself apart. She opened up the rib cage of Gunbuster to take out like the core, and then use it. I think it was to detonate the black hole bomb. But again, one of those scenes where she rips off her while she's ripping off like the chest plate of the Gunbuster, she rips open her shirt, and I'm like, how old is this girl? And are they making up plot devices to show us her titties?
She literally said, hold on, before I save the world, let me show some titty. She just ripped her shirt
Let
open.
me pop a titty.
Pop a titty. Save the world.
Save the world. Pop
And
a
you
titty.
can too.
That is a t-shirt right there. Save the world. Pop a titty.
Gunbuster. And she okay. Before that happened too, Noriko was like, let me go, because it's very dangerous to go in the core. It didn't detonate on time, so they got to go into the core and activate it, and of course it's gonna blow up, so you're fucked. Yeah, so whoever goes in there is pretty fucked.
You're done.
So she's like, let me go in, and I want to activate it and die. And then Onesima was like, no, let me die.
I'll do it.
And then 3 tertiary characters like, no, let me die. I'm like, what is everybody's suicide fetish in this? It's like, everybody wants to die.
Everyone wants to be the sacrifice.
Like, why you gotta? But either way, they do it.
Go write all the cool songs and tell the stories about me.
Yeah, right. Somebody's got to sing my praises.
I want a legacy.
Somebody's got to tell the world about my titty.
My Miss American titty.
My Miss American titty. Miss Okinawa, 1988. And so they blow up the thing, the black hole bomb blows up, it sucks all the aliens and whatnot. The aliens are gone. That problem is solved. Yeah, they're just dry up there.
Yeah, dry the bone.
And then what happens is I don't know, I think Onesama and Noriko also got sucked in the black hole.
Yes.
So, but like, there's no aliens where they are. I don't know what happened. They get either they got sucked in or it exploded and it shot them off to a faraway galaxy.
I think it was one of the two, but
Something like
but
that.
anyway, I actually this I remember very well because it gave me huge flashbacks to the ending of Darling and the Franks. When the two of them were caught in space for thousands of years. But in this one, sorry, I might be spoiling Darling and the Franks for someone, but anyway,
you're right though. They do have those years in space.
Yeah, in the case of the show, I think they're in space for 10,000 years.
They're in space for 12,000 years.
I was off.
It's crazy. Well, okay, so technically space-time, like 12,000 years is, I don't know, like 3 years, 5 years?
They were like 3 or 5 years in space.
It's still a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because 6 months is 15
Because they had
years.
the two clocks, the Earth time and space time
Right.
clock, which I thought was a great device for the
That's
audience to
pretty
let us
cool.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, but then the two of them eventually do get back to Earth, and and everything's gray.
Yep.
And they're depressed, thinking, oh my God, is humanity lost? But there was another character earlier in the show who said, we're going to organize a big welcome back for you. And they see the lights as they approach Earth, welcome home.
Yep.
And then what it looks like it happened, it looks like their very souls leave their body and go and cascade back towards Earth.
Yeah.
As the end credits happen, I'm like, and guess what happened? In that moment, everything goes back to color. And I'm like, fucking
wow.
I wanted to throw my glasses. I'm like, art, brilliant, means something. I feel intelligent for suggesting this show.
As you should. The ending was really nice.
It was
really nice.
It was Anno being positive, which is still weird for me.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of that end of Evangelion thing where it's debatable. Like, is it a positive or not?
Right.
Sure, they're happy, but is everyone on Earth dead? We don't know. But there's one main character. In this case, the main characters were smiling right before they died.
Right.
Where at the end of Eva, I mean, Shinji looked happy.
Someone was clearly having a good time.
Someone was having a good time. Asuka just said he was disgusting. She didn't say she was having a bad time. Anyway. If unless I'm forgetting anything major, I think that was Gunbuster.
I think that's Gunbuster. Yeah, that was the end. They traveled through space for 12,000 years. No food, no water, but whatever. They got through it, and they got back to Earth.
Space time, baby.
And I don't know how everybody on Earth remembered 12,000 years later. Like, oh, there they are.
Yeah, oh, shit, there they are.
Oh, shit, that's awesome. So, yeah, but it ended nonetheless.
On one of those questionable happy notes.
Yes.
But the music in this led me to believe it's supposed to be happier than
the music throughout was also very good.
The main theme was kind of a bop. It was a
pretty
love
sick.
song.
Yeah.
And the lyrics had nothing to do with the actual show.
Right.
Which I found very interesting. It was like a very very chipper, upbeat, and then you hear, I love you. And I'm like, what are we doing here? I mean, I'm having a great time, but
it was pretty cool. I like the upbeat music when they were like forming Gunbuster and like beating the shit out of some aliens.
But I would
cool.
love it if like they went the more traditional route and had lyrics that actually had any application to the show we were watching.
Yeah.
Like, you are the hero or something.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Just something like, fitting,
Yeah.
which was fun. But I mean, it's a nitpick. It is the ultimate nitpick.
Sure.
But that's kind of why I'm here.
And that's that's what we got to talk about now. Like, we're nitpicking.
Yes.
Was it bad?
You see, I was kind of thrown a little bit by this one, but I definitely have to say it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's really not bad. I would call it, I'd say it's one of the most prototypical mech shows I've ever seen. It is, again, this is going to sound dismissive, but it's very baseline, but I mean that in a kind of a positive way. It's a very, it's standard.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in mechs in general, because mech is one of those genres that's constantly going up and down in popularity wildly. One season will have like 6 mech shows, and the next season, anime season will have 0. So it's a genre that's constantly going through leaps and bounds. But it is, like I've said numerous times on this podcast alone, it's one of the most influential genres of this entire medium. So for this particular show, if you're on High Dive and you're really upset after watching 6 episodes of Redo of the Healer,
I'm very upset after watching any of Redo of the Healer.
Yeah, me too.
Let me tell you.
So we'll get to that later, my friend.
God.
So if you need a break from the more intense stuff out there and need to drown out for like an hour and a half and watch some great sounding and a pretty good looking show.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah,
It looks
for a
pretty
late
good.
80s show, this looks
pretty
really good.
Yeah,
So I
agree.
definitely give it the not bad, and I'd probably give it a soft recommendation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bang down someone's door about it saying you have to watch it.
Right.
But I would say, you can go for it. You can go for it.
I think it was. I also don't think it was bad at all. I think for me, what I really dug about it the most was that it was a nice thing to see, like a prelude to Evangelion.
Oh yeah, totally.
At least like for me, at least watching, I was like, oh, cool. Like that's kind of Eva-esque. Like,
There
that's
was
a little like.
if you did a drinking game out of this, you would have been bombed.
Oh, yeah.
If you got any moment that was Eva-esque or remind you of
Absolutely.
Eva, and we got to save getting bombed because we have a big day later.
Oh yeah, we do have a big day. But yeah, it was good. I mean, like I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
I think mostly because I was picking it apart, being like, oh, that's very like that's so Eva, or like that's
See, for Eva fans like us, it was a great little scavenger hunt. It was a great little
right.
like when you're waiting at the dentist's office and you have the highlights magazine and you're looking for all like the little pieces in the picture book. So that's comparison I have
Bring
for
Highlights magazine into this. Yeah. We talked about VR porn today, and now we're bringing in Highlights magazine.
This is what happens when you wake me up before noon. I am legitimately loopy right now. I have no fucking idea what's going on. I'm just happy to be alive. But anyway, so
God.
Gunbuster's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
VR porn is the future. Read Highlights magazine.
I think we covered it all.
I think we covered all the bases today.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Go watch Gunbuster, I guess.
Go
I don't
watch
know.
Gunbuster if you got the time. Have some fun. Take a break from all the raunchy stuff on High Dive, and have a good day, everybody.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
It's bad.
Wow, oh my god, what a rousing podcast of anime conversation. Am I right, my compares? Am I right, my weebdom? Anywho, yeah, you can send us a message if you want. Did you like this podcast? Did you hate this podcast? Do you want to kill me? Do you want to drench me in Calaxosaur blood and watch me drink it? That's fine. Just send us an email at badanimepod@gmail.com or DM us on our Instagram at badanimepod, all one word. You can also find us on YouTube as Bad Anime, and you can leave a comment on whatever video you want to leave a comment on. We'll read them all anyways. We don't care. I love you. Kiss, kiss.
In your ear. Podcast Network.